Security footage from a CVS pharmacy in a quiet suburb of St. Paul, Minnesota, shows a woman in a white pharmacy coat moving through the aisles. The timestamp reads 9:52 p.m. on a Tuesday in October. She's methodically checking the doors, killing the fluorescent lights, going through her closing routine just as she has for over 2 decades. Her name is Diane Kowalski, 63 years old, a senior pharmacy technician, a widow, a mother of 3 adult children who have become strangers to her. In less than 2 minutes, she will turn the corner toward the back stockroom, and the camera will lose sight of her. That is the final moment Diane Kowalski is ever seen on camera. But there's another angle, a different camera covering the rear delivery bay. At 9:54 p.m., a young man forces the rear door open. He moves with intent, not hesitation, and disappears from the frame. 2 separate pieces of footage, 1 missing woman. And when you understand the connection between them, you'll realize this isn't a story about a random act of violence. This is a story about loneliness, calculated betrayal, and the terrifying reality of what happens when the person you once trusted most knows exactly how to get back into your life. Most people assume cases like this involve a stranger. A break-in, wrong place, wrong time. That's the logical starting point for any investigation. Police focus on the obvious, a robbery that spiraled out of control, a drug-seeking addict, random chaos. That's where the initial focus landed in the first 12 hours after Diane's disappearance was reported. Wednesday morning, 8:07, the opening pharmacist, David Park, arrived for his shift. He'd worked with Diane for years and had opened the store with her countless times. As he pulled into the lot, he immediately noticed her car, a modest sedan, still parked in her usual spot. That was the first red flag. Diane was a creature of habit. On closing nights, she was out by 10:15 p.m., home by 10:35. Her car being there meant she never made it out. David approached the front entrance. The interior lights were still on, another red flag. Diane was meticulous about shutting everything down. He unlocked the door and called out, "Silence." He walked through the pharmacy. Everything appeared normal, organized, no signs of a struggle. Then he saw it, Diane's handbag on the counter near the pickup window. Her phone was plugged in behind the counter, charging. Her keys were inside the bag, but Diane was gone. David called 911 at 8:14. Police arrived by 8:31. They started with the obvious theories that would soon prove to be completely wrong. Hold on for a second. If stories like this grip you, make sure to subscribe to the Mental Grand. Don't let the next case stay in the dark. Done. Good. Let's pick up right where we left off. Who was Diane Kowalski? She was a lifer in the Twin Cities area. She raised 3 kids on her own after her husband suffered a fatal heart attack 11 years ago when she was 52. She'd been at the same CVS for 23 years. Dependable. The kind of employee who never complained, never called in sick, the one corporate loves because she'd take the solo closing shifts without a word. And yes, she closed alone. Like most major chains, CVS had implemented cost-saving measures years ago. Instead of having 2 people close together, they rotated senior staff to handle it solo on certain nights. It saved the company roughly $200 per store per week. Tuesdays and Thursdays were Diane's nights. She'd been doing it for 2 years. Never a problem, never a complaint. That Tuesday, October 15th, was just another routine night. Except it was. Her children, 2 daughters and a son, had all moved away after college, scattered across the country. They called on holidays at first. Then the calls became less frequent. Then they stopped visiting. Then they stopped calling altogether. Diane never badmouthed them to coworkers. She understood. They had their own lives, but people who worked with her could see the loneliness. She mentioned spending weekends alone. She'd volunteer for holiday shifts so others could be with family. She was the one who brought in homemade treats, but always ate lunch by herself in the break room. Then in March, 7 months before she vanished, something shifted. Diane seemed lighter, happier. She mentioned going out to dinner, seeing movies, having plans. A coworker asked if she'd met someone. She blushed and said maybe, said it was new and she didn't want to jinx it. His name was Derek. She eventually shared that he was younger but said age didn't matter. He made her feel seen. He made her feel wanted. He made her feel like she still mattered to someone. But here, What Diane's coworkers didn't know, and what only emerged after she disappeared. Derek Mitchell was 27 years old. He met Diane at a Target parking lot in March. She dropped a bag of groceries, he helped her gather them. They talked for nearly half an hour. He asked for her number. She was shocked, flattered, and confused as to why someone so young would be interested. He told her he preferred mature women. Stable, knew what they wanted. He said he'd love to take her out. And Diane, who hadn't been on a date since her husband passed, who spent her evenings in an empty house, who had children who'd forgotten her number, said yes. That first date led to a second. The second led to him staying over. Within 2 months, he'd moved into her house. Within 3, he had access to her debit card because his gig job didn't pay much, and she wanted to help. Isn't that what people who care about each other do? And within 4 months, while Diane slept one night in May, Derek went through her purse. He found her keys, including the CVS rear entrance key on her ring. He drove to a 24-hour kiosk, made copies of both her house key and the pharmacy key, and slipped them back into her purse before she woke up. He told himself it was insurance. If things went south, he'd need a way to access value. Pharmacy drugs had value. He knew people. The key was a backup plan he hoped he'd never need. But he made it anyway. Diane never knew. For 5 months, Diane was happier than she'd been in years. Someone to come home to. Someone who said he loved her. She didn't notice small amounts of cash disappearing. Didn't question when he said his hours were cut. She kept working, kept depositing her paychecks, kept feeling grateful. Until August. Until a coworker spotted Derek at a bar with 2 young women, his arm around one of them. Until that coworker told Diane. Until Diane checked her bank statements and saw over $15,000 missing. Until she checked his phone and found messages with multiple women, plans to meet, and conversations where he referred to her as his meal ticket. Diane confronted him on August 23rd. She told a coworker the next day, her hands shaking, her eyes red. She'd kicked him out, changed the locks, blocked his number. She felt like a fool. Her coworkers tried to console her. He was a con artist. She did the right thing. She'd bounce back. But Diane seemed hollow, not just angry, broken, because it wasn't about the money. It was about the loneliness she'd carried for 11 years finally being acknowledged, only to discover it was all a performance. She told one coworker, "At least when my kids ignore me, I know it's real. With him, I thought someone finally saw me. Turns out no one did." After that, she was a ghost. She still showed up, still did her job, but the light was gone. And Derek, he texted her dozens of times. "Baby, please, I'm sorry, I really did love you. Let me explain, we can fix this." She blocked him. He called from different numbers. She blocked those too. He showed up at her house twice. She didn't open the door. He showed up at the pharmacy once in September. She threatened to call the police. He left, but he kept trying because it wasn't about love. It was about the access to money he no longer had. Now let's look at that footage. October 15th, Tuesday night. Diane closes alone. The pharmacy has 2 cameras. Interior camera shows the floor and front entrance. Exterior camera shows the rear delivery bay. At 9:52 p.m., Diane walks through the aisles, checks for customers, locks the front door, and kills the lights. She heads toward the back stockroom where they keep overstock and supplies. She disappears from view. That's the last time she's seen. Exterior camera shows something else. Same night. 9:54 p.m., the rear delivery door opens. A figure enters. Male, young, black, wearing a dark hoodie. The camera angle doesn't catch his face. He walks with purpose, not like someone casing the place, but like someone who knows the layout. He moves toward the same back stockroom. He disappears from view. He doesn't walk back out on camera. Police enhanced the footage. Couldn't get a clear face. But they got a build. Young, maybe late 20s, around 6 feet tall, thin. That description could fit anyone. But here, the key. That stockroom has a side emergency exit. No camera on it. You could walk in from the rear, go to the stockroom, and exit through that side door without ever being seen leaving. Police searched the stockroom. No signs of struggle. No blood. No evidence of violence. An inventory audit later showed a small quantity of controlled substances unaccounted for, but nothing definitive. Diane was gone. They pulled her phone records. The most recent texts were from a blocked number. They unblocked it. Derek Mitchell. Dozens of messages over 2 months, most from him trying to reach her. The most recent was from him on October 14th, the night before she disappeared. "I just want to talk. I'll come by tomorrow." She hadn't responded. Police found Derek at his small apartment in St. Paul. They brought him in. Derek sat across from detectives and told them a story. Yes, he knew Diane. Yes, they dated. Yes, she kicked him out. Yes, he'd been trying to contact her to apologize. No, he didn't go to the pharmacy Tuesday night. He was home alone. No alibi. Detectives showed him the exterior footage. Derek watched. Then he said something that changed everything. "That's me." Just like that, casual. "You were there." "Yeah, but I didn't touch her. I didn't even see her." He explained. He still had the key to the pharmacy. Diane had given it to him months ago when they were together. She'd sometimes ask him to grab things for her after hours. When she kicked him out, she forgot about it, or didn't know he'd kept it. October 15th, he was desperate. No money, bills due. He thought about the medications. He knew they had street value. He decided to go in after closing, grab what he could, and leave. He wasn't going to hurt anyone. He used his key, entered at 9:54, and headed for the stockroom. But then he heard something, movement. Someone was still there. He panicked. He turned around and bolted out the side exit. He never went into the stockroom. He never took anything. He didn't see Diane. He didn't hurt her. He just got scared and ran. Police didn't believe him. They arrested him for trespassing and attempted burglary. They searched his apartment. They found the pharmacy key. They found browser searches for street value of oxycodone and pharmacy camera blind spots from days before. But they didn't find Diane. No blood, no evidence of violence, nothing proving he did more than what he admitted. His lawyer argued there was no evidence of foul play. Diane's car was there. Her purse was there. But that doesn't mean Derek hurt her. Maybe she saw him enter on a monitor, got scared, and ran out the side exit. Maybe she's hiding. Maybe she doesn't want to be found. The prosecution argued it was absurd. A 63-year-old woman doesn't just vanish. She wasn't hiding. Something happened. Derek was the last person in that building with her. He had motive. She cut him off financially. He was desperate. He admits he was there to steal. What if she caught him? What if he did something he's not admitting? But here, the problem, no body, no evidence of violence, no confession. The prosecution's strongest argument was Diane's phone and purse. The phone was still plugged in behind the counter, charging exactly where she'd left it at 9:47 p.m. when she started closing. That told investigators everything. Diane hadn't planned to go anywhere. She plugged it in, expecting to grab it in 15 minutes when she left. She wouldn't have left it charging if she planned to disappear. She wouldn't have left her purse, her keys, her car. The phone charging pinned her disappearance to those exact 90 seconds between when she walked to the stockroom and when Derek entered. No one disappears voluntarily, leaving their means of survival behind. No one walks away from their life without their phone, wallet, keys, and car. The prosecution argued this wasn't abandonment. This was abduction or murder. Diane didn't leave. She was taken. And Derek was the only other person there. The trial lasted 8 months. Charge, second-degree murder. The defense argued she could have walked away, started over. The prosecution called it cruel and absurd. The jury deliberated for 6 days. They returned a verdict, guilty of second-degree murder. Sentence, 25 years, no parole eligibility until 2041. Derek maintains his innocence. He never saw her. She was gone before he got there, but he's in prison. Diane is still missing. It's been 4 years. She'd be 67 now. Searches covered hundreds of square miles. Cadaver dogs, divers, nothing. Her daughters came for the trial. They admitted they hadn't called in months. They meant to. The defense used this, arguing Diane left on her own, a woman whose children abandoned her, who was scammed, who maybe just wanted to disappear. The prosecution called that theory cruel. Derek's appeals have failed. He gives interviews from prison, maintaining his story. Some believe him. They say the evidence was too thin. Convicting someone of killing a person who might not even be dead is dangerous. Others say he's exactly where he belongs. The truth is buried in those 90 seconds. What happened? Did Deanne hear the door? Did she hide? Confront him? Did something go wrong? Or is his story true? Did he walk in, hear something, panic, and leave, while Diane disappeared for reasons no one understands? The CVS closed 6 months later. Corporate said consolidation. Locals knew better. The building sat empty for years. Now it's a clinic. People still call it Diane's Pharmacy. The side exit finally has a camera. Too late. Diane's daughters run a missing person page. They post on birthdays and Mother's Day about regret, about how loneliness made their mother vulnerable. How if they just called more, maybe she wouldn't have been so desperate for connection. The question everyone asks is why Diane walked to that stockroom alone. She knew Derek had been contacting her. She was afraid after he showed up in September. Why didn't she ask someone to stay? Why not request backup? People who knew her say that was Diane. Reliable, didn't want to be a burden. She probably thought she was overreacting, thought she was safe with cameras and locks. She was wrong. What we know for certain, Diane locked the front door at 9:52 p.m. and walked toward the stockroom. Derek entered at 9:54 using a stolen key. Between those moments is silence. No audio, no footage, no witnesses. Diane never walked out on camera. Derek says he left through the side exit. No camera to confirm. Somewhere, Diane either chose to disappear or had that choice made for her. Her children don't know. Police don't know. The jury didn't know, but they convicted anyway. The only certainty is that a 63-year-old woman who felt invisible became literally invisible. And 4 years later, no one knows where she is. If you work closing shifts alone, if you stick to the same routine, if you ever gave a key to someone you no longer trust, this should make you think. Diane changed her house locks but forgot about the pharmacy key. She was wrong, or maybe she was right and something else happened. We don't know, that's the unbearable part. The not knowing. 2 pieces of security footage, 1 woman, vanished in 90 seconds.